Cartoon Network's been making some weird decisions lately, shunting everything to HBO Max, struggling to define themselves for the 2020s, unusually plodding along without much mention or controversy. But is Cartoon Network really missing anything with their former new series Tig N Seek premiering on HBO Max? Let's review the show and find out. Tig N Seek centers on cheerful 8-year-old Tiggy and his gadget-building cat Gweeseek as they search for lost items around Ouija City and humorously navigate day-to-day dilemmas at the Department of Lost and Found. It was originally announced for Cartoon Network last year, and at the time I wondered if Cartoon Network was really putting their best foot forward with this. I also wondered the same with the Fungies, which is now also going to HBO Max. To me, on first glance, the show sounds utterly infantile, rattling the bottom end of CN's 6 to 11 demographic like it wants to be sent back to Tickle You in 2005. Between this and the Fungies, I was seriously wondering if repelling peripheral demographics was what Cartoon Network was looking to do for the 2020s, but then both shows moved to HBO Max, and while that creates other problems for CN, such as having nearly no new series to air this year, it's probably better for the shows themselves, given they clash tonally with Cartoon Network's other current shows. Ask Summer Camp Island how a tonal clash on the channel worked for them. Beyond that, there wasn't much in the way of expectations or real interest for this show. We knew it existed and we didn't really care enough to pry for more. But now it's here. The show premiered on Thursday, July 23rd, and so it's time to investigate how this show actually is, and whether or not we're missing out on anything. Probably the most interesting thing about the show is the intro. And that doesn't really say a lot, because the intro doesn't do all that much. Executionally, it kind of goes for the thing that the intro to Victor and Valentino goes for, but that show actually pulled it off, while this one didn't. The actual show itself is boring and really bland. I found myself zoning out on it in multiple stretches of the episode. I didn't laugh, I didn't cry, I wasn't even mad. I was just bored with it. I will give the show points where they're due to at least introducing a variety of characters in early episodes. I felt that the show's first episode set the series up pretty well, but I can't give them points for really anything else. Some major character dynamics become fairly apparent early on. Gweeseek, despite lacking in dialogue, has plenty of capacity for smarts, but she's also a cat, and in that regard, she's often off doing her own thing, which may or may not be completely relevant to what's happening in the rest of the episode. The main word I can think of to describe Tiggy is incompetence. It wasn't an annoying incompetence, as I saw in Thundercats Roar, but it was still incompetence. I get that he's supposed to be 8, but I'm pretty sure your average 8-year-old can handle some things better than Tiggy. The trouble I really have with his approach to things is an excess of melodrama. Tiggy seems able, and even eager, to create his own world and explanation of events, completely detached from reality, and somehow that's supposed to drive the episode. As much as I appreciate being able to watch a boy's complete mental breakdown, the circumstances in which scenes like that exist take all the viewing pleasure away from it. Boss serves as an enabler of this sort of thing. Despite his position of power within the department, characteristically he is somewhat of a clone of Tiggy that Tiggy himself can use to bounce off of and further insulate himself. The fact that their respective descents into madness are contrasted by the side characters in each episode being anchored into something that we can agree resembles reality doesn't make it look any better. None of the characters that get any decent amount of screen time seem to work. The side characters are relatively one note, but that's fine, or at least acceptable, due to their lack of overall presence. Something I immediately picked up on was that both Tiggy and Gweeseek, despite being frequently on screen together, seem to exist in completely different, separate storylines that never meet up with each other outside of coincidence. It sort of breaks the show, in a sense, because there's sort of an expectation for cooperation between the show's main, title characters. The vast majority of shows are built on some group of people sharing some kind of common experience. Tiggy and Gweeseek are only bound to each other by being in the same room together. Even Thundercats Roar, for all the other creative standards it destroyed, got that important point right. While it is not airing on Cartoon Network proper, Tig N Seek is yet another example of how Cartoon Network and its products are actively lowering the bar for what is deemed acceptable enough to be greenlit, given millions of dollars, developed, produced, and spat out to audiences as entertainment. It is not as obvious or as patently offensive as Thundercats Roar, but its purpose is no less blatant. Its creative and executional inoffensiveness is its offensiveness, on principle, to the standards we as an audience have agreed upon for the bare minimums of quality programming. Tig N Seek, if it does nothing else, which is likely, represents a new low rung in how Cartoon Network's output has degraded in recent years. It is artistically safe, conceptually uninspiring, and executionally dubious. There are only so many layers of creative complexity that can be stripped back on a show before the creatives or network doing the pairing end up with a product like this. Perhaps Warner Media was right in moving this show to HBO Max, not due to the stylistic incongruency, but to salvage what's left of Cartoon Network's image and appeal at this point. For all the hunting they do at the Department of Lost and Found, Tig N Seek come up surprisingly and disappointingly empty on anything resembling entertainment value. The only thing that Tiggy and Gweeseek have seemed to find is a new low for how uninspiring Cartoon Network's content can be. I've talked plenty about Cartoon Network's apparent creative race to the bottom, and I've compiled many of the recent developments in my review of Cartoon Network's performance in 2019, which you can watch up here or down in the description. Make sure you subscribe to get more explorations from the world of television every single week. I'm Benzie Johnson Jr., I'm enthusiastic about television, and I'll see you next time.